Energy shifts are subtle, and that's exactly why most men miss them. They're not always visible in her actions at first. They're felt. You walk into the room, and something doesn't feel the same. The laughter that used to come naturally now feels a little forced, like it's been rehearsed. The warmth in her eyes, the one you could always count on, starts to dim. It's not gone completely, but it's fading like a candle running out of wax. That's where it begins. Before anything physical, before any message is sent, before any step is taken, her energy changes. And if you're not tuned in, you'll write it off as stress, as mood swings, or as just another rough patch. But it's more than that. It's the shift that tells you her focus, her attention, her heart is no longer fully present with you. Think about how relationships begin. They start with energy, not action. Before she ever holds your hand, before she ever says, I love you, you feel it in the way she looks at you, the way she responds to you, the way she invests her attention in you. That's energy. And just like that beginning, when the ending starts to take root, it's energy that moves first. The problem is that most men are too distracted by the surface, by what's being said or what's being done, to recognize what's underneath. They think everything is fine because dinner is still on the table, conversations still happen, and the relationship still functions. But deep down, the life force of the connection is shifting away. You see, women don't usually cheat out of nowhere. It's not a sudden impulse like many men imagine. It's a gradual redirection of energy. At first, she might still hug you, but the embrace feels lighter, almost hollow. She might still kiss you, but there's no soul behind it. She might laugh at your jokes, but her eyes aren't really locked onto you the way they used to be. These are energy signals, but if you're not paying attention, you'll convince yourself everything is fine. You'll tell yourself she's tired, she's busy, she's just going through something. And while that might be partially true, the bigger reality is that her vibration is shifting away from you and aligning towards someone else. Most men are conditioned to respond only to action. If she stops cooking, they notice. If she stops texting, they notice. If she stops coming home on time, they notice. But energy always precedes action. It's like a seed underground. You don't see the plant yet, but the roots are spreading. By the time you notice the action, the energy shift has already been alive for weeks or months. And if you had learned to read energy, you could have seen the warning long before it reached the surface. It's not mystical, it's awareness. When you sit with her, do you feel her truly present? Or does her mind feel somewhere else? When she talks, do you sense she's inviting you in? Or does it feel like she's protecting something inside? When she laughs, is it flowing from her heart? Or is it a performance to keep up appearances? These are the subtle markers of energy that men often miss. And the reason they miss them is because they've been trained to measure love by big actions instead of daily vibrations. When her energy shifts, the air between you changes. You can walk into a room and without a single word being spoken, you know something's off. It's like tuning into a frequency. You used to be on the same channel, but now the signal is scrambled. That is the most important moment for a man to pay attention. Because once the energy is gone, everything else is a matter of time. She may still be physically there, but she's emotionally absent. And when emotional absence grows unchecked, it creates the opening for betrayal. Now, here's the part most men struggle with. They think if they just talk more, argue less, or buy gifts, they'll fix it. But if you don't address the energy first, all those actions are like pouring water into a cracked cup. It looks like you're doing something, but the foundation is leaking. Energy doesn't lie. You can't fake presence. You can't fake genuine warmth. You can't fake connection. And when she starts giving that energy to someone else, it's not just about her pulling away from you. It's about her pulling toward a new source. That's why it feels like she's glowing differently, like she has a spark you can't explain. It's not random. It's her aligning her energy with another person. This is why awareness is power. If you start tuning into energy, you'll notice the little drops before they become floods. You'll see when her ladder shifts, when her patience shortens, when her attention is no longer yours. These aren't coincidences, they are indicators. And while most men are blind to them, the ones who pay attention can recognize the truth long before the actions ever confirm it. Energy doesn't just shift overnight. It builds, it signals, it leaves trails. You just have to learn to read them. One of the clearest signs that something is shifting in her is the way she stops sharing her inner world with you. In the beginning, she wanted you to know everything. Her dreams, her frustrations, her fears, her little victories. She opened that door wide and invited you in. You didn't have to ask twice because she was eager to let you see who she really was. That was intimacy at its core. It wasn't just physical closeness. It was emotional access. But right before she drifts towards someone else, she begins locking that door. She doesn't stop talking completely. She'll still have conversations, still exchange words, but the depth changes. You start realizing she tells you less about what really matters, less about what she's truly feeling. And that silence is more dangerous than any argument. This is the stage most men misunderstand. They think if she's not complaining, then things must be fine. They assume quiet means peace, but in reality, quiet often means distance. She's no longer sharing her struggles because she doesn't see you as the one who can hold them. She's no longer telling you about her dreams because she doesn't picture you in them anymore. She's no longer expressing her fears because she doesn't feel safe enough to be that vulnerable with you. The words may still flow, but the connection underneath is fractured. That's the emotional disconnection that happens before betrayal. Think about it. When someone is truly invested in you, they can't help but want you to know what's happening inside them. They want to tell you about their day, even the small details. They want to share the things that excite them because your response adds to their joy. They want to admit what scares them because your presence brings comfort. That's the bond that keeps two people together. When that bond starts to weaken, she no longer looks to you for that exchange. She starts finding it somewhere else, sometimes with a friend, sometimes with a colleague, sometimes with someone she hasn't even fully connected with yet, but feels drawn to. That shift is the prelude to cheating. It's not about physical actions at first. It's about where her emotional energy goes. Most men are blind to this because they're focused on the external. They notice when she spends less time at home, when she goes out more often, when she's glued to her phone. But all of those are late signs. The early sign is when she stops letting you into her mind and heart. She may still sit next to you on the couch, but she's miles away mentally. You ask her how her day was, and she gives you short answers. You bring up something important, and she brushes it off or changes the subject. She doesn't lean into you with her words anymore. That is the quiet unraveling, the slow withdrawal that most men confuse for normal relationship fatigue. But it's not fatigue, it's redirection. When she begins to withhold her inner world, it creates a vacuum between you. And here's the thing about vacuums, they always get filled. If you're not the one filling that emotional space, someone else will. That's why affairs rarely start with physical intimacy. They almost always start with conversation. They start with her telling another man the things she no longer tells you. She laughs with him the way she used to laugh with you. She shares her insecurities, her ideas, her opinions, and suddenly he becomes the one holding her inner world. That exchange is powerful because emotional intimacy often feels more binding than physical intimacy. Once she's crossed that line, the physical part is just a matter of time. What makes this so dangerous is how subtle it is. She won't announce that she's pulling back. She won't sit you down and say, I don't feel like sharing with you anymore. Instead, it slips away day by day. A little less louder, a little less honesty, a little less openness. And because the change is gradual, you adapt without even realizing it. You accept shorter conversations. You accept vague answers. You accept the silence until one day you wake up and realize you don't even know her anymore. That's how the distance grows. But understand this, when a woman stops sharing with you, she's not protecting herself. She's preparing to replace you. She's testing what life feels like when you're no longer her confidant. She's rehearsing separation without physically leaving it. That's the stage right before she crosses into new territory. And it almost always goes unnoticed because men mistake it for her being tired or distracted. In reality, she's emotionally checking out. And here's the deeper truth: betrayal doesn't begin in the body. It begins in the heart. By the time she cheats physically, she's already cheated emotionally. The distance in conversation, the withholding of thoughts, the refusal to let you into her inner world. That was the betrayal before the betrayal. That was the moment you lost her, even if you didn't recognize it. The silence you ignored was actually her loudest cry for change. She doesn't leave all at once. She creates space slowly, carefully, almost invisibly. It begins with the little things, the kind of things you might shrug off if you're not paying attention. She starts telling you she's busy more often. She has late nights that didn't used to exist. She spends more time with her friends at work, or suddenly develops new routines that don't include you. On the surface, it might look like independence, and independence in itself is not a bad thing. But when it's paired with emotional withdrawal, it becomes a warning. She isn't just carving out time for herself. She's carving out distance from you. That space she's creating isn't random. It's intentional, even if she doesn't consciously realize it yet. At first, she'll justify it. She'll tell you she needs more me time, that she's focusing on her goals, that she just wants to take better care of herself. And those reasons sound reasonable, so you don't question them. You accept them because you don't want to appear controlling or insecure. But what you don't see is that this newfound independence isn't about growth. It's about separation. She's preparing to live without you while still being with you. That's the stage before cheating. Rehearsing freedom before fully committing to it. What makes it tricky is that independence can look healthy. She goes to the gym more often. She joins new circles. She invests in hobbies she never had before. You might even applaud her for it, thinking she's finally doing things for herself. But beneath the surface, she's building a life where you're no longer central. That's the shift most men miss. It's not the independence that's dangerous. It's the motive behind it. Is she creating more of herself to share with you? Or is she creating more of herself to withhold from you? That's the difference between growth and detachment. Notice how her excuses start to pile up. She used to make time for you even when she was tired, even when life was busy. Now she claims she's too exhausted, too overwhelmed, too occupied. The truth is, she's not too busy. She's just too busy for you. That thing, though silent, is loud in her behavior. You'll see in the way she guards her schedule, in the way she no longer asks you to join her, in the way she finds reasons to be elsewhere when she once thought to be close. It's not about what she's doing. It's about what she's avoiding. The independence also shows in how she handles accountability. She used to check in with you, not because she had to, but because she wanted to include you in her life. She'd tell you when she was leaving work, where she was going, who she was meeting, and it felt natural, not forced. Now, she doesn't feel the need to tell you, not because she's lying necessarily, but because she no longer feels like you're part of her inner circle. She guards the time as if it belongs to her alone, not to the relationship. And when you question it, she frames it as if you're insecure, when in reality, what you're sensing is the slow erasure of connection. Another layer is how she redefines her priorities. Where she once centered you in her decision making, now you're an afterthought. She'll make plans without checking in. She'll say yes to others before she says yes to you. And you'll notice a quiet but steady pattern. She's learning to live without your influence. It doesn't mean she doesn't care at all, but it does mean she's choosing to care less. That's how independence morphs into distance. Men often misinterpret this stage. They think giving her space will fix it, that if they step back, she'll come back stronger. But what they don't realize is that space isn't the issue, direction is. If her independence is directed toward growth within the relationship, space makes her return more vibrant. But if her independence is directed towards separation, that space becomes the training ground for life without you. She's not just busy, she's busy detaching. You'll see it in how she uses her time. Before, she'd text you during breaks, call you on her way home, or share random details about her day just to include you. Now, she fills that same time with silence, or worse, with someone else. The gaps that used to belong to you are slowly being reassigned. And because she cloaks it under the guise of independence, you might not challenge it. You'll convince yourself that she deserves her freedom, not realizing that freedom has become the mask for disconnection. This is the moment men need to be most alert. Not paranoid, not controlling, but aware. When she begins to stretch herself into a life that excludes you, it's not harmless exploration. It's emotional withdrawal. And withdrawal always precedes replacement. She's still in the relationship physically, but emotionally she's rehearsing her exit. That's why she doesn't fight as hard anymore. Why she doesn't care to explain. Why she no longer tries to bridge the gap. The independence she's showcasing isn't just self-love. It's self-liberation from you. There is a moment in every relationship when the little things begin to shift, and most men don't even notice it because they're waiting for some big dramatic sign. But it rarely starts big. It starts small with the details. When a woman is deeply invested in you, she sees everything. She notices when you're tired even if you don't say a word. She can tell when something is bothering you by the way you breathe, the way you move, the way your tone changes. She remembers what you like, how you like it, the things that make you feel seen. That attention to details, how she shows her love. It's her way of saying, I see you, I value you, I'm present with you. But right before she drifts toward another man, that detail fades. She stops noticing, not because she's blind, but because her attention is now directed somewhere else. Think about how it feels in the early stages of love. She remembers your favorite food without asking. She texts you back quickly. She compliments you on things you didn't even think she saw. She notices when you get a haircut, when you wear something new, when you're quieter than usual. That attentiveness isn't forced. It flows because she's emotionally invested. Now imagine the opposite. Suddenly she doesn't pick up on those things anymore. You can change something about yourself, and she doesn't say a word. You can come home drained, and she doesn't ask why. You can make an effort, and she doesn't acknowledge it. That silence in the details is not indifference. It's a redirection of energy. The truth is, attention follows desire. When her heart is locked on you, her eyes naturally scan for little things that make you, you. But when her desire starts shifting elsewhere, her eyes stop scanning. The effort fades because she no longer feels pulled to invest in you. Instead, that attention to detail begins to show up in another direction. She might start noticing what another man wears, how he speaks, how he carries himself. She might laugh a little louder at his jokes than yours. She might remember the things he says while forgetting the things you tell her. That's not coincidence. That's where her energy is flowing. What confuses men is that she still does enough to keep the relationship functioning. She'll still cook, still respond, still show up, but the depth is gone. You'll feel the difference in how she does those things. The food is there, but the love isn't seasoning anymore. The texts come, but they're dry and transactional. The conversations happen, but they lack the spark they used to have. It's not about whether she's doing the task. It's about whether her heart is in the details of those tasks. And when her heart has shifted, those details disappear. Men often mistake this for stress. They think she's tired, overwhelmed, or distracted. They rationalize the distance because it feels safer than admitting the truth. But stress doesn't erase attention completely. It only delays it. If she still cares, even during her busiest times, she'll make some effort to stay connected. But when she stops noticing altogether, that's not stress. It's disconnection. That's the stage where most men sleepwalk through the warning signs, believing everything will fix itself, not realizing the foundation is already cracking. You'll notice it in her responsiveness. Before, she might have sent you long messages full of warmth. Now her replies are short, sometimes delayed, sometimes without the emojis or expressions she once used. Before, she might have celebrated your achievements with genuine excitement. Now she barely reacts as if it doesn't matter. Before, She might have picked up on the smallest change in your mood. Now, she doesn't ask, doesn't lean in, doesn't probe. These little drops in detail accumulate until you feel like a stranger in your own relationship. It also shows in the physical environment. Maybe she used to tidy up things she knew bothered you, but now she leaves them. Maybe she used to make sure your favorite snack was stocked, but now she forgets. Maybe she used to initiate affection, but now you're the only one reaching out. Again, it's not about the actions themselves. It's about the intention behind them. Love sharpens attention, detachment dulls it. And when her focus dulls towards you, it sharpens towards something else. This shift in detail is critical because it reveals where her mind is living. A woman who is preparing to betray isn't always consciously aware of what she's doing. She may not wake up and say, I'm going to cheat, but her energy knows, her focus knows, her attention gravitates to where she feels alive and it withdraws from where she feels disconnected. That's why her attention to you diminishes, not because she suddenly forgot how to love, but because she's investing that love elsewhere, even if only in thought. And the most painful part, she doesn't have to say a word. You'll feel it in the silence of those details. You'll feel it in the way she no longer asks how your day was, in the way she no longer remembers the things that matter to you, in the way she no longer sees you the way she once did. Silence in a relationship is never empty. It's always filled with something. And in this case, it's filled with distance. There is a different kind of glow that shows up right before a woman cheats. And most men don't recognize it because they confuse it with her simply being happy or confident. But there's a difference between confidence that comes from within and a spark that's being fueled by something outside of the relationship. When her energy begins to connect with someone new, you can feel it in the way she carries herself. She suddenly pays more attention to her appearance. She dresses with more intention. Her laughter feels lighter. Her body language shifts. It's as though she has rediscovered a vibrancy that had been sleeping. The mistake most men make is think it's just her going through a phase of self-improvement. What they don't see is that her excitement is rarely for herself. It's for the attention and validation she's receiving from someone else. When she starts glowing in this way, her routines change. She puts more effort into her looks even for ordinary outings. She guards her phone more carefully, not necessarily because she's doing something physical yet, but because the anticipation of a message, the possibility of connection with that other person gives her a rush. That rush spills over into her energy, and suddenly she looks more alive. She laughs at things she didn't use to laugh at. She hums to herself. She seems more playful. These changes might seem positive on the surface, but they're also signals. A woman doesn't light up in that particular way unless something or someone has become a new source of stimulation. It's not just the physical changes. It's the behavioral ones. You'll notice her being more protective of her privacy. She tilts her phone slightly when texting. She locks her screen faster. She changes her passcode or keeps it face down more often. She might not be hiding an affair yet, but she is hiding the energy exchange, the conversations, the thrill of new attention. That secrecy isn't random. It's a symptom of excitement that she doesn't want to explain to you. If you ask, she'll dismiss it, make you feel like you're overreacting, or tell you she just values her space. But the truth is, her spark is being fed elsewhere, and secrecy is how she shields it. Watch her body language when she's around you. She may still be present, but there's a subtle restlessness. Her phone buzzes, and her eyes light up more for that notification than they do for your presence. She smiles to herself at random moments, and when you ask what's funny, she brushes it off. She may even seem more confident, more outspoken, more daring. That's because external validation creates a different energy. It's addictive. It makes her feel desired in a way she hasn't felt in a while. And instead of drawing that feeling from you, she's drawing it from someone else. This kind of spark can also show up in her conversations. She brings up new topics you've never heard her care about before, new slang, new stories, new ideas. Often, those ideas aren't hers originally. They come from whoever is giving her that new attention. She's absorbing their energy, their worldview, and bringing it back into your space. That subtle transfer of influence is one of the clearest signs that her spark is being ignited outside the relationship. She doesn't realize she's doing it, but her words carry the imprint of where her focus is going. Another key sign is how she suddenly starts putting more effort into parts of herself she had let slide. Maybe she works out more consistently, changes her wardrobe, experiments with her hair, wears perfume more often, or pays attention to details she ignored before. It's not wrong for her to take care of herself, but the timing reveals the truth. If the spark coincides with a pulling away from you emotionally, it's not about self-love. It's about impressing someone new. That excitement she shows in front of the mirror isn't about rediscovering herself. It's about being noticed. And then there's the latter. Latter reveals everything. Before, her laughter with you was effortless and full. Now, she laughs differently, sometimes softer, sometimes louder, sometimes out of nowhere. You can feel when her laughter no longer belongs to the moments you share, but to something she's replaying in her mind. That's the hidden evidence of someone else's energy living inside her. Men often want to deny this stage because it feels uncomfortable to admit. They tell themselves she's just happy, just focused on self-growth, just experimenting with new things. But deep down, the shift is obvious. A woman doesn't suddenly reinvent her appearance, her routines, and her attitude without a source of inspiration. And that inspiration isn't coming from you. It's coming from somewhere else. That glow is intoxicating, but it's not meant for you anymore. It's reserved for someone who has captured her attention, someone who has become the secret fuel behind her sudden spark. And perhaps the most painful part is how natural it all seems. She doesn't look guilty. She doesn't look conflicted. She looks alive. And because of that, most men hesitate to question it. They don't want to be the ones who rain on her happiness. But what they fail to see is that the happiness isn't rooted in the relationship. It's rooted in the thrill of new energy. That's the excitement that shows up right before betrayal and always leaves a trail in the way she dresses, the way she laughs, the way she glows when she thinks you're not looking. It's not the arguments that signal the end day. It's the silence. Most men think the danger in a relationship comes when she's yelling, when she's crying, when she's demanding answers. But that's not the true danger. Arguments mean she still cares enough to fight, to express, to try to pull something out of you. The real warning comes when she no longer argues, no longer explains, no longer even bothers to raise her voice. That silence is not peace, it's surrender. And right before a woman cheats, that silence becomes her shield. You'll notice it first in conversations where she used to be expressive. Now she's brief. Where she used to share her opinions passionately, now she just nods or shrugs. You can bring up something important, and instead of engaging, she lets it pass without a word. It feels as if the life has drained out of her responses. And that's because emotionally she's already checked out. Silence is not the absence of words. It's the absence of connection. She's no longer trying to reach you because in her mind there's no point. When a woman still loves you, even her anger has love in it. Her frustration, her tears, her demands, they all mean she wants to be seen, heard, and validated by you. But when the silence takes over, it means she no longer expects that from you. She no longer sees you as the one who can meet her needs. And when she stops looking to you, she starts looking elsewhere. That's how the betrayal begins long before anything physical happens. Silence also shows up in the little daily interactions. She used to ask how your day was. Now she doesn't. She used to tell you about hers. Now she keeps it to herself. She used to laugh at your jokes. Now she just offers a faint smile or no reaction at all. She used to correct you when you were wrong. Now she lets you stay wrong. It's not that she's suddenly okay with everything. It's that she no longer cares enough to correct it. That kind of silence is the loudest signal of all. And yet most men brush it off as being tired or moody. They miss that it's not mood, it's detachment. Another form of silence comes in the physical space. She doesn't reach out for affection as often. She doesn't initiate hugs, doesn't lean into you, doesn't rest her head on your shoulder like she used to. The silence of her body speaks louder than words. When she lies next to you but feels miles away. When she walks past you in the house without touching you. When she closes her body off in subtle ways. That's the silence of distance. She's no longer drawing warmth from you because she's already rehearsing what it feels like to live without it. You'll also notice how she stops asking questions. In the beginning, she wanted to know everything about you, your thoughts, your plans, your feelings. Even after years together, she would still probe, still want to know more. But when the silence sets in, she no longer asks. She no longer cares what you're thinking because your world no longer feels tied to hers. That absence of curiosity is a sign she has already detached emotionally. The silence even shows in conflict resolution, where she once argued back. Now she just lets things slide. You might think you're finally getting along better because the arguments have stopped, but what's really happening is that she's stopped fighting for the relationship. When she no longer cares to fix things, it means in her mind, things are already broken beyond repair. That's why the quiet is more dangerous than the shouting. Shouting still has hope hidden inside it. Silence has none. And here's the part most men miss is silence is often where betrayal begins to breathe. Because in that silence, she's already connecting with someone else, even if only emotionally. She may not have acted on it yet, but she's pouring the words, the attention, the vulnerability she used to give you into another place. That's why she has nothing left to give you. Her silence with you is mirrored by her openness with someone else. That's why it feels so empty in your space, but so alive in hers. This stage is especially deceptive because it doesn't always come with hostility. She may not be cold. She may not be mean. She may even be polite. But politeness isn't love and calmness isn't connection. She's silent because she's emotionally gone. And in many cases, because she's saving her energy for someone else, silence becomes the cover for her betrayal, the way she keeps things balanced while her heart is shifting away. The tragedy is that silence feels safer to most men. They mistake it for stability. They breathe a sigh of relief when the arguments stop, not realizing that the arguments meant there was still fire to work with. Silence is the ashes. Silence is the end in disguise. Silence is her way of saying, without saying anything, that she's no longer invested, no longer hoping, no longer trying. And once that silence has taken root, what comes next is rarely repair, it's replacement.